Welcome to one of the most important videos you'll ever watch. This isn't just another motivational speech. This is believe in yourself always, let's be honest. How many times have you looked at an opportunity and thought, I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. Someone else will do it better. Maybe it was a job you didn't apply for. Maybe it was a dream you quietly buried. Maybe it was that one idea you wanted to share but silenced before the words ever left your lips. And now deep down you still wonder what could have happened, if only you believed. Self-doubt is sneaky. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It convinces you to take the safer path, to stay quiet, to wait just a little longer. But here's the truth. Self-doubt doesn't just delay success. It silently destroys potential before it even begins. The cost of not believing in yourself isn't just lost opportunities. It's regret. It's sleepless nights. It's watching others live the life you secretly wanted but never claimed for yourself. So let me ask you, what opportunities have slipped through your fingers simply because you didn't believe you could do it? What dreams are still sitting in the back of your mind, waiting for you to trust yourself enough to bring them to life? The enemy is clear. It's not lack of talent. It's not lack of resources. It's not even failure. The enemy is self-doubt, fear, and insecurity. And the solution? Building an unshakable belief in yourself that nothing and no one can take away. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why belief is the foundation of everything you achieve, how to strengthen it step by step, and how to make it permanent so that no setback can break it. Along the way, you'll hear real stories, practical tools, and powerful lessons you can start applying today. And here's the best part. Believing in yourself doesn't just open doors to success. It changes your entire life. It gives you confidence in conversations, energy in your mornings, strength in your struggles, and peace in your heart. This isn't just about reaching goals. It's about becoming the person you were always meant to be. This is believe in yourself always. The silent killer. Doubt in disguise. Self-doubt doesn't storm into your life loudly. It doesn't announce itself with sirens or flashing lights. No, it creeps in quietly, like a shadow at the edge of your thoughts. At first it seems harmless. Just a small hesitation, a fleeting question. Can I really do this? But if left unchecked, that whisper grows. It takes root, and before long, it becomes the lens through which you see yourself and your possibilities. Think about it. How many times has doubt disguised itself as logic? You told yourself you weren't qualified enough for that dream job, so you never applied. You convinced yourself that person was out of your league, so you never started the conversation. You labeled your passion, whether it was writing, art, business, or a new skill, as just a hobby, because you feared failing if you took it seriously. On the surface, these choices look like caution. They look like practicality, but in truth they are missed opportunities, moments that could have changed your life but never even had a chance to begin. Self-doubt builds an invisible prison. The bars aren't made of steel. They're made of your own thoughts. They're built out of what-ifs and I can'ts and maybe later. And what makes this prison so dangerous is that it doesn't feel like a prison. You can still move. You can still breathe. You can still smile. But deep inside, you're living smaller than you're meant to live. You're thinking smaller than you're capable of thinking. And the toll this takes on the mind is heavy. Doubt breeds stress. Every decision becomes a battlefield between what you want to do and what you're afraid might happen. Doubt breeds anxiety. You overthink, replaying mistakes from the past as if they're prophecies of the future. Doubt breeds regret. You look back months, years, even decades later and realize you never gave yourself a fair chance. It's like carrying chains you can't see. At first, they feel light. A little hesitation here, a little fear there. But over time, those chains tighten. They slow you down. They weigh on your shoulders. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize they're wearing them. They think this is just life. They think everyone lives this way, half committed, half dreaming, half believing. But here's the truth. Those chains were never locked. They were never sealed shut. The prison door has been open the entire time. All along, the power to step out was within you. The danger of self-doubt is not that it stops you in one big, dramatic moment. The danger is that it chips away at you slowly, quietly, day after day. One unspoken idea, one postponed dream, one avoided risk, until eventually you don't even realize how much of your potential has been stolen. And that's why we call it the silent killer. Because it doesn't just take away opportunities, it takes away belief. And without belief, even the brightest talents, the greatest ideas, and the strongest efforts fall flat. But the good news? Awareness is the first step. When you can see doubt for what it is, a chain that only feels real, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to notice those moments when doubt whispers, and instead of obeying, you challenge it. You begin to realize that the invisible prison was never unbreakable. It was never even locked, and that's exactly where transformation begins. Why belief shapes destiny. If doubt is the silent killer, then belief is the life giver. Belief is the spark that lights the fire of achievement. Every great accomplishment, every world-changing idea, every breakthrough in history started not with talent, not with resources, not even with knowledge. It started with belief. Belief is the foundation of all achievement. Think about it. Before a person takes the first step, before they put in the hours of practice, before they endure the failures and setbacks, there has to be a moment where they whisper to themselves, "I can." Without that, nothing else begins. Psychologists call this concept self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to succeed in specific situations. Research by Albert Bandura, one of the leading figures in psychology, shows that people with high self-efficacy set higher goals, persist longer in the face of obstacles, and recover faster from failure. In other words, belief doesn't just make you feel confident. It actually changes the way your brain and body approach challenges. It alters your behavior, your choices, and ultimately, your results. Now let's look at history. Take Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times while trying to invent the light bulb. But did he stop? No. Why? Because he believed he could find a solution. Or consider J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, she faced rejection after rejection from publishers. Many people would have quit after the first no. But she didn't, because belief told her the story mattered. And then there's Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years. Most people would have lost hope, but Mandela's belief in freedom and justice didn't just keep him alive. It fueled a movement that changed a nation. These are extraordinary examples, yes, but belief doesn't only belong to icons of history. It belongs to you, to me, to anyone willing to claim it. Here's the truth. Belief multiplies talent. You can have all the skill in the world, but if you don't believe in it, you'll never use it fully. A talented singer who doubts themselves will never step on stage. A brilliant thinker who questions their worth will never share their ideas. On the other hand, someone with average skills but unshakable belief will keep showing up, keep learning, and eventually surpass those who had more talent but less faith. Let me tell you a story. There was a young man named Richard, an ordinary factory worker from a small town. He didn't come from wealth. He didn't have elite education. In fact, most people told him he'd never amount to much. But Richard had one thing: belief. He believed he could create something valuable, something that would make life easier for people. So after long shifts at the factory, he spent his nights tinkering with designs in his garage. Years passed. Failures piled up. Friends laughed. But Richard kept going. That man was Richard Branson. Today, he's a billionaire entrepreneur, the founder of Virgin Group, with hundreds of companies worldwide. Was he the smartest? The richest? The most connected? No. What set him apart was belief. Belief is the great equalizer. It takes ordinary people and gives them the fuel to do extraordinary things. It bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Now, this doesn't mean belief magically makes everything easy. It doesn't erase hard work. It doesn't guarantee instant success. But it does something even more powerful. It keeps you in the game long enough to win. It pushes you to get back up after failure. It whispers, "Try again," when the world says quit. And when you stack belief on top of effort, on top of persistence, on top of learning, you become unstoppable. That's why belief isn't optional. It's not just a nice to have. It is the foundation. Because no matter how much talent you have, no matter how many resources you gather, if you don't believe in yourself, you'll never even try. So let me ask you this. What would change in your life if you fully, unconditionally believed you could achieve your dream? Because the moment you do, your destiny begins to shift. Breaking the cycle of comparison, belief shapes destiny. Yes, but there is one force that constantly tries to chip away at that belief: comparison. We live in a world where comparison has never been more relentless. Open your phone, scroll through social media, and within seconds you're hit with images of someone else's perfect life. The dream vacation, the six-figure business, the flawless relationship, the luxury car. And while you may know, logically, that people only show their highlights online, emotionally it still hurts. You start measuring your behind the scenes against someone else's highlight reel, and the more you compare, the smaller you feel. Comparison fuels insecurity like gasoline on a fire. You think, they're younger than me and already more successful. Or, she's more confident, more attractive, more loved. Instead of motivating you, comparison drains you. It turns focus outward instead of inward. It shifts your energy from building your life to envying theirs. But here's the truth. Comparison is a thief. It robs you of joy in the present moment. It steals gratitude for what you already have. It blinds you to your own progress. And worst of all, it convinces you to quit before you even begin, because you feel like you'll never catch up. So how do we break this cycle? By shifting the mindset from envy to inspiration. Instead of looking at someone else's success and thinking, "I'll never have that," train yourself to think, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. Use their wins as proof, not punishment. See their achievements as evidence of what's possible for a human being, not as a verdict on your worth. Here's a simple practice. The next time you feel that sting of comparison, pause and write down one thing you admire about that person. Then, instead of letting it make you insecure, ask yourself, How can I learn from this? What small step can I take to build this quality in myself? This transforms envy into a roadmap. Another exercise: build internal validation. Every night, write down 3 wins of your own, no matter how small. Maybe you completed a workout. Maybe you read a book instead of scrolling. Maybe you took 1 step toward a goal. These may feel insignificant in the moment, but over time they remind you that you are progressing. They train your brain to celebrate yourself rather than constantly measuring against others. Let me share a story. There was a young woman named Maya. She loved painting, but every time she saw other artists online, she felt crushed. Their work looked better. Their followers were larger. Their sales were higher. So she stopped posting. She stopped painting. She almost gave up entirely. One day she decided to shift. Instead of scrolling with envy, she started scrolling with curiosity. She studied how other artists presented their work. She learned techniques, marketing tips, and storytelling styles. Slowly, she started applying these lessons, not to copy others, but to improve herself. Within a year, Maya wasn't just painting again, she was selling her art. She found peace because she stopped competing and started creating. Her secret wasn't more talent. It wasn't luck. It was changing how she looked at comparison, and that's the shift you must make too. Stop letting comparison shrink your belief. Let it fuel it. Stop seeing others as the finish line. Start seeing them as proof that the path is real, that success is possible, that dreams can be lived. Because the truth is, your story, your journey, your timing is unique. No one can live your life but you. And no one can take away what's meant for you if you keep believing and moving forward. Turning failures into fuel failure. Just the word itself carries a heavy weight. For most people, failure feels like the end of the road. It feels like proof that you weren't good enough. That maybe you should stop trying. That perhaps your dream was too big in the first place. But here's the truth most people never hear. Failure isn't proof of inadequacy. It's feedback. Think about that. Failure isn't a verdict. It's information. It's the universe's way of saying, not this way. Try another path. And if you look closely, every failure is packed with lessons, growth, and hidden opportunities. Yet most of us take failure personally. We see it as a reflection of who we are rather than what we did. When we get rejected from a job, we don't just think, that role wasn't the right fit. We think, maybe I'm not good enough. When a business idea flops, we don't just say, the strategy needs adjusting. We say, I'm not cut out for this. That's the trap. Confusing failure with finality. But failure is not final. It's feedback. Let me share a story. There was a man who faced failure so often that most people would have quit after the first setback. He was fired from his first job. He ran for public office and lost. He started a business that collapsed. He proposed to the woman he loved, and she passed away before they could marry. He battled deep depression, financial ruin, and repeated rejection. That man was Abraham Lincoln. And despite failure after failure, he refused to let setbacks define him. He saw them as lessons, not verdicts. Each loss taught him resilience. Each rejection strengthened his determination. Eventually, he became one of the most respected presidents in history because he turned failure into fuel. Now, you don't have to aim for the presidency to understand this principle. Every person who has achieved greatness has a trail of failures behind them. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. J.K. Rowling faced multiple rejections before Harry Potter was published. Walt Disney was once told he lacked imagination. The list goes on. Their failures didn't define them. Their response did. So how can you reframe failure in your own life? The key is shifting from rejection to reflection. Instead of asking, "Why me?" start asking, "What's next?" Instead of saying, "I failed," ask, "What did I learn?" That one simple mindset shift transforms every setback into a stepping stone. Here's a practical tool: journaling your failures. Most of us avoid writing down our mistakes. We want to forget them. But when you document them, you take away their power. Create a failure journal. Each time something doesn't go as planned, write it down. But here's the twist. Don't just write what went wrong. Write what it taught you. Write how it prepared you for the future. For example, I applied for that job and didn't get it. Lesson learned: I need to improve my interview skills. Action step: practice with a mentor. Or, my business pitch failed. Lesson learned: I need to research my target audience better. Action step: survey potential customers. Suddenly, failure stops being the end. It becomes part of the plan. Think about it. If failure is just feedback, then every no is guiding you toward the right yes. Every rejection is redirecting you to a better path. Every mistake is sharpening your skills for the moment you'll need them most. And let's be real, failure hurts. It's emotional. It stings when things don't work out. But pain is not the enemy. Pain is the signal that growth is happening. Muscles only grow when they're torn and rebuilt. The same is true for character, resilience, and success. Here's a powerful truth. The people who succeed are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to stop failing. They get up one more time. They try again. They adapt, they learn, and they keep moving forward. So the next time failure knocks at your door, don't slam it shut in shame. Open it, invite it in, ask it questions, learn from it, and then use it as fuel. Because every failure is not a dead end. It's a detour guiding you toward the version of yourself you were meant to become. Remember this: failure doesn't break you. It builds you. Daily habits that strengthen self-belief. Believing in yourself isn't just a mindset. It's a practice. It's something you reinforce every single day, not a switch you flip once and forget about. Think of self-belief like a muscle. If you train it consistently, it grows strong and powerful. But if you neglect it, it weakens. The good news? You don't need giant leaps to strengthen it. What you need are small, consistent daily habits. Habits that, over time, create an unshakable foundation of confidence. Let's start with the first one: affirmations. Done right. Now, when most people hear affirmations, they think of standing in front of a mirror and saying things they don't believe, like "I am a billionaire" or "I am perfect." That's not only unrealistic, it can actually backfire. The science of affirmations shows that they work best when they're believable and actionable. Instead of "I am the best," try "I am improving every single day." Instead of "I never fail," try "I learn and grow from every experience." Think of affirmations as reminders to focus on progress, not perfection. A powerful example: every morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I am capable. I am enough. I am moving forward today." Those aren't empty words. They're anchors that set the tone for how you carry yourself through the day. But affirmations alone aren't enough. You need proof. That's where the second habit comes in: micro wins. Micro wins are the small victories you stack daily that remind you of your capability. Did you make your bed this morning? That's a win. Did you drink a glass of water instead of soda? That's a win. Did you finish a task you'd been procrastinating? Another win. Here's why this matters. Your brain thrives on evidence. Every time you accomplish something, no matter how small, you're training your mind to see yourself as capable. These micro wins stack into momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Think of it like laying bricks. Each small action is a brick. Over time, you're building a wall so solid that doubt can't break through. The third habit is about your surroundings, because belief isn't built in isolation. The people you spend time with, the environment you live in, and even the way you talk to yourself all play a massive role in shaping your confidence. If you're surrounded by negative voices, people who constantly criticize, complain, or tear down dreams, it's like planting a seed in bad soil. It doesn't matter how strong the seed is, it won't grow. But surround yourself with encouragers, mentors, and people who inspire you, and suddenly your belief multiplies. And don't overlook the most influential voice in your life, your own. Pay attention to your self-talk. Catch yourself when you say, "I can't," and reframe it to, "I'll try." Replace "I always fail" with "I'm still learning." Your internal dialogue is like background music. If it's uplifting, you'll move with energy. If it's negative, you'll walk through life with heaviness. Next, let's talk about one of the most powerful tools for belief: visualization. Every great achiever, from Olympic athletes to entrepreneurs, has used visualization to strengthen their confidence. The practice is simple but powerful. Take 5 minutes every day to close your eyes and picture yourself succeeding. Imagine walking onto that stage, giving the presentation with clarity and power. Imagine crossing the finish line, feeling your body strong and your heart racing with victory. Imagine holding the degree, signing the business contract, or sharing your art with the world. Why does this work? Because your brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagined experiences and real ones. When you visualize success, you're rehearsing it mentally, wiring your brain for confidence. That way, when the real moment comes, it feels familiar, like you've already been there. Finally, let's talk about routines, your mornings and evenings. How you start your day sets the tone, and how you end your day shapes your mindset for tomorrow. Imagine waking up and immediately scrolling through social media, comparing yourself to others. That's like beginning your day with self-doubt on tap. Instead, start with intention. Wake up, stretch, drink water. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, and speak your affirmations. That's less than 10 minutes, but it primes your brain for confidence. At night, don't just collapse into bed after hours of distraction. Take a few minutes to reflect. Write down 1 win from the day, no matter how small. Maybe you had a tough conversation, maybe you pushed through a workout, or maybe you simply kept a promise to yourself. End your day reminding yourself that you are moving forward. This way, you go to sleep with self-belief, and you wake up ready to reinforce it again. Daily habits are powerful because they are cumulative. One affirmation may not change your life. One micro-win may feel insignificant. One visualization may seem like a small exercise. But done consistently, they stack, they compound, and they transform you. Remember, self-belief is not built in a single moment of inspiration. It's built in the quiet, consistent choices you make every day. And when you choose to affirm your worth, celebrate your wins, surround yourself with positivity, Visualize your success and craft empowering routines. You are literally programming your mind for confidence. And the best part? Once these habits take root, they don't just strengthen your belief in yourself. They transform every part of your life, your work, your relationships, your health, and your happiness. So start today. One affirmation, one small win, one visualization, one reflection tonight. Do it again tomorrow. And soon you'll realize you don't just believe in yourself sometimes. You believe in yourself always. The enemies within: fear, laziness, and doubt. Sometimes, the greatest battles you face aren't out in the world. They aren't with your boss, your competition, or your circumstances. The fiercest battles are the ones inside your own mind. The quiet, hidden enemies that live within you: fear, laziness, and doubt. They don't announce themselves with a loud bang. They whisper. They creep. And if left unchecked, they grow powerful enough to shape your life. Let's start with fear. Fear wears many masks. Sometimes it shows up as the fear of failure. That voice that says, what if you try and it doesn't work? What if you invest your time, your energy, your heart, and it all falls apart? So instead of trying, you freeze. You stay in your comfort zone, convincing yourself it's safer there. But fear has another mask, the fear of judgment. The what will people think trap. You dream of starting something new, maybe a business, a YouTube channel, a book, or even just speaking up in a meeting. But then you picture the criticism, the sideways glances, the laughter, and suddenly your courage evaporates. You play small because you're terrified of how others might see you. Here's the truth. Fear will never fully disappear. But it can be managed. The key is to act in spite of it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to move forward even when fear is present. Ask yourself, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? Then take a small step in that direction. Now let's talk about the second enemy, laziness. At first glance, laziness looks harmless, like a simple lack of energy or motivation. But often laziness is just doubt in disguise. When you say, I'll do it later, what you really mean is, I don't fully believe I can do it now. Laziness is the comfort of procrastination, the safety blanket that keeps you from testing your potential. Think about it. How many dreams have died, not because someone wasn't capable, but because they kept saying, tomorrow? Laziness whispers, rest, relax, there's time. But days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and suddenly the dream is gone. The antidote to laziness is structure and small action. Don't wait to feel motivated. Start moving, and motivation will follow. Even 5 minutes of focused effort can break the cycle. Action creates energy. And once you act, laziness loses its grip. The third enemy is the most subtle, but the most dangerous. Doubt. Doubt begins as a faint whisper. Are you sure you can do this? What if you're not good enough? At first you brush it off, but if you listen too long, that whisper grows louder. Soon it becomes a roar. You're not ready. You'll never succeed. Why even try? Doubt doesn't just question your ability, it questions your worth. It chains you to hesitation. And while you're second-guessing yourself, opportunities pass by. Someone less qualified but more confident steps into the role that was meant for you. But here's the reality. Every person you admire, every leader, every achiever, every world changer has felt doubt. The difference is they didn't let it dictate their choices. They learn to silence the roar by feeding their belief instead. So how do you fight these enemies? Fear, laziness, and doubt. Let's break it down into practical steps. Name the voice. When fear speaks, call it out. That's fear talking, not me. When doubt whispers, recognize it. That's doubt, not truth. Naming it separates the enemy from your identity. Take micro actions. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Make the call. Write the first sentence. Take the first step. Action dismantles fear and laziness faster than overthinking ever could. Reframe failure. Instead of seeing mistakes as proof you're not good enough, treat them as lessons. Every failure is feedback. Every setback is a stepping stone. Build accountability. Surround yourself with people who encourage action. A supportive environment makes it harder for fear and laziness to thrive. Strengthen your self-talk. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "I'm not ready" with "I'm growing." The words you repeat to yourself become the script you live by. At the end of the day, these enemies will never vanish completely. Fear will always try to whisper. Laziness will always tempt. Doubt will always question. But with awareness, action, and discipline, you can keep them from running your life. Remember this: your future isn't decided by the enemies within. It's decided by how you respond to them. You are stronger than your fear. You are greater than your laziness. You are louder than your doubt. And the moment you choose belief over hesitation, you've already won the battle. Real-life transformations. Sometimes the best way to understand the power of self-belief is not through theory, but through real stories. Stories of people who started with nothing but a dream, a tiny spark of belief, and went on to change their lives, and in many cases, the lives of millions. Let's begin with someone the world now knows well: Oprah Winfrey. Today, she's one of the most influential women on the planet. A billionaire, a media mogul, a philanthropist. But her beginnings were anything but glamorous. Born into poverty in rural Mississippi, raised in a broken home, facing abuse and unimaginable challenges, Oprah's early life was defined by hardship. Most people in her position would have let the circumstances dictate their destiny. But not her. What changed everything? Her unshakable belief that her voice mattered. She believed she had something to give to the world, even when society told her she didn't. That belief carried her through rejection after rejection, setback after setback. And because she held on to it, she created a life that continues to inspire millions. Now let's look at the world of entrepreneurship. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks. He grew up in a poor neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. His father was a factory worker with no health insurance, and his family struggled just to make ends meet. Schultz dreamed of creating something bigger, but he had no wealth, no powerful connections, nothing that guaranteed success. What he did have was a deep belief in an idea. When he first pitched Starbucks to investors, he was rejected again and again. People laughed at the thought of paying premium prices for coffee. But Schultz didn't give up. His belief was bigger than their doubts. And today, Starbucks is one of the most recognizable brands in the world, with over 30,000 stores globally. But it's not just celebrities or CEOs. Sometimes the most powerful transformations happen with ordinary people whose stories rarely make the headlines. Take the story of a young man who struggled through school, constantly told he wasn't smart enough. Teachers doubted him, classmates mocked him, and he began to believe the lies that he wasn't capable of achieving anything great. But one day he decided to test that belief. He set a small goal to improve his grades just a little. Slowly, he worked harder, stayed disciplined, and pushed himself. That small victory built confidence, which led to bigger goals. Years later, that same boy became a doctor, helping save lives daily. His transformation didn't just affect him. It rippled out to every patient he touched, every family he comforted, every life he changed. And that's the beauty of belief. It creates a ripple effect. When you start believing in yourself, you don't just change your own path. You change the way others see what's possible. A parent who believes in themselves inspires their children to dream bigger. A teacher who believes in their abilities motivates students to aim higher. An entrepreneur who pushes forward despite obstacles creates opportunities for employees, communities, even entire industries. Belief is contagious. Your courage can ignite courage in others. Now let me get personal with you. There was a time when I doubted myself too. I remember standing on the edge of a big decision, terrified. My mind was filled with all the usual whispers. You're not ready. You'll embarrass yourself. People will laugh at you. The doubt felt heavier than the dream. But deep inside, there was a spark, small, fragile, but alive. It said, what if you can? What if you're capable of more than you think? I chose to listen to that tiny spark. And the moment I did, everything shifted. It didn't mean the path was easy. I failed, stumbled, and faced criticism. But every time I leaned on belief instead of doubt, I took another step forward. Looking back now, I see how that choice, believing in myself when it was hardest, was the turning point. And here's why I share this with you. Because your story is still being written. Right now, in this moment, you may feel like you don't have what it takes. Maybe you've failed before. Maybe you've been told no more times than you can count. Maybe you've convinced yourself you're not enough. But just like Oprah, just like Schultz, just like that boy who became a doctor, belief can be the spark that changes everything. Don't underestimate it. Self-belief isn't just about achieving your goals. It's about transforming who you are. And through that transformation, transforming the lives around you. So the question is this: will you feed the voice of doubt? Or will you ignite the spark of belief? Because your transformation doesn't start with circumstances. It doesn't start with luck. It starts with one decision: to believe in yourself always. The power of always. Making belief permanent. Here's the truth. Believing in yourself sometimes is not enough. If you only believe when life is easy, when doors open smoothly, or when people cheer for you, that belief will vanish the moment things get hard. True transformation comes when your self-belief is not occasional, not conditional, but permanent. Think about it. Imagine a pilot who only trusts their skills sometimes, or a doctor who only believes in their knowledge on good days. Would you feel safe with them? Of course not. Belief must be constant, not fleeting. And the same applies to you, because the journey to your dreams will test you again and again. So how do you make your self-belief always? It starts with resilience, built through repetition. Just like a runner builds endurance mile by mile, you build resilience choice by choice. Every time you choose belief over doubt, you grow stronger. Every time you push forward after a setback, you reinforce the message, I can trust myself. But resilience doesn't just appear out of thin air. You need anchors. things that remind you of who you are and what you're capable of, even when you forget. For some, anchors are habits. A daily routine that grounds you, waking up early, journaling, affirmations, or exercise, becomes a ritual of self-belief. For others, anchors come in the form of mentors, people who speak life into you when your own voice shakes. And sometimes, an anchor is as simple as a written note on your mirror. You are stronger than you think. Now let's use a metaphor. Belief is a muscle. If you train it daily, it grows. If you neglect it, it weakens. Go to the gym once and nothing changes. Go consistently and transformation is inevitable. The same is true for belief. One day of confidence won't change your life, but a lifetime of consistent belief will. Each repetition matters. Each small decision to trust yourself adds weight to the bar. And over time, you become unshakable. But here's the warning. Self-belief must be unconditional, not conditional. Conditional belief says, I'll believe in myself if people support me. I'll believe in myself if I succeed. I'll believe in myself when it's convenient. That kind of belief collapses under pressure. Unconditional belief, on the other hand, says, I believe in myself even when no one else does. I believe in myself even when I fail. I believe in myself always. That's the kind of belief that moves mountains, that carries you through storms, that builds legacies. So ask yourself, is your belief conditional or unconditional? Is it sometimes or is it always? Because the moment you shift from sometimes believing to always believing, your life changes. Not gradually, but dramatically. The world responds differently to a person who carries permanent conviction. Belief is not a switch you flip on and off. It's a fire you keep burning, through discipline, through anchors, through resilience. And once that fire is permanent, no storm can put it out. So train your belief daily, anchor it deeply, protect it fiercely, and above all, make it unconditional. Because real power lies not in believing when it's easy, but in believing always. The unshakable takeaway. Let this sink in. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need someone's approval, validation, or applause to begin. Every person who has ever built something great started the same way, by choosing belief when no one else could see the vision. The truth is, the world rarely hands out permission slips. If you wait for others to crown you as ready, you'll be waiting forever. The power has always been inside you. The question is, will you trust it? You don't need approval. Approval is fragile. It changes with trends, opinions, and moods. What people praise today, they may criticize tomorrow. If you tie your confidence to the voices of others, you'll forever ride a roller coaster of insecurity. But when you root yourself in belief, you become unshakable. Because belief doesn't depend on outside noise, it grows from within. And here's the final truth. You only need belief. Belief is the spark that ignites action. The courage that moves you forward when logic says, stop. It's the invisible force that transforms impossible into done. Without belief, every plan collapses. With belief, even the smallest step carries unstoppable momentum. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just nod along, don't just feel inspired for a moment. Prove your belief today. Take one small action that says, I trust myself. Maybe it's sending that email you've been avoiding. Maybe it's starting that workout you've been putting off. Maybe it's sitting down for 10 minutes to work on that dream you keep postponing. One action, one decision, one proof of belief, because every great journey begins with one small step, and this step is yours. So remember this as you move forward. Believe in yourself, not just today, not just tomorrow, always.